walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no base, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Welcome back, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, to Sideline, the Sideline. We are here. We are ready to rock and roll. I'm the NFL Genius, Gene Walzak, that will no longer refer to myself as the NFL Genius after last week's picks. So I am wire-to-wire Gene. That's who I am now. And in the upper left corner from Integrity Sports Network, he's chomping at the bit to get rolling tonight. It's Kyle Edwards. How you feeling tonight, brother?
I'm good. You know, new era for my team. I'm excited to see it, and hopefully it leads to some better play, but we'll see. But I'm always excited to be on here with you guys.
We'll obviously talk about that. We're going to talk about that. It's one of the big topics this week is first start for Drake May. I felt like after last week's game, they had no choice. They had to make that situation happen. Just a boring, dull offense. Just couldn't work. Could not work. In the upper right corner, got Gardy 3 from the N1 podcast and the Meaty Boys podcast. The guy's a Green Bay Packers fan through and through. Mr. Gardy 3, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great. My Packers won on Sunday. Outside of one boneheaded pick, Jordan Love looked fantastic. Can't really ask for much more than that.
And in the bottom left corner, we got my man who's taking it deep. He's shaking it deep. He's Mr. D. Godfrey. How you feeling tonight, brother?
I'm feeling good. It's football season. How could you not feel good? You know what I mean?
What do you mean, how can you not feel good? After what happened yesterday, you're feeling good? I'm not feeling good. I'm still sick. I'm still sick, bro.
I have the ability to move on quickly.
I do not have that ability. Do you remember the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I do not have that ability. I am an absolute baby when my team is eliminated.
Listen, I try to put it behind me and move on because, especially if you're a Philadelphia sports fan, you have to put losing seasons behind you, because if you don't, you'll never move on, because there's more than losings than winnings.
Really. Well, I'm broken, brother. I'm broken. I'm a broken soul. I called this in July. I talked about it in July. Everyone told me I was crazy. I said, there's something wrong with this team. This is not a baseball show. I'm not going to get too far. I'm hurt. I'm hurting.
It was over after game 1. That's when it was over.
Speaking of people that were hurt, I mean, I want to talk about what happened Tuesday morning. You get on a flight home from London, and Robert Saleh is now let go. And me and Godfrey, I could just tell by the chat last night, are in the absolutely reverse mindsets of this. I don't know. At this point, here's the question I got to ask you, right? And Kyle, I want to get your opinion because it's in your division. Robert Saleh let go. Fair, unfair, needed, not needed, unjust, just. Where do you stand? Is he the reason the Jets are 2-3?
No. I've looked at that team and I'm like, outside of week 1 against the Niners, you feel like the defense has done their job. The one thing that's always kind of killed defensive coaches is they either don't get the right quarterback or they don't have the right offensive coordinator running things over there. So I know a lot of people are looking at Saleh, with the whole decision with Aaron Rodgers. Look, if I'm a defensive-minded coach and you come and tell me you can get Aaron Rodgers, I'd probably be down for it as well. And ultimately, the way that because I had issues with him with the Hard Knocks, like he was like rolling out the red carpet, like he was like drinking the man's like bath water, like it was that deep with him. So I do think like that part of it, I was like, probably shouldn't have done that. And it ultimately has led to this where he is now. I just feel like even if the Jets wanted to make a change, which Woody Johnson doesn't do this middle of the season, kind of odd that Robert Saleh, when you look at the long line of trash coaches that they've had run through the Jets, Saleh's the first one that had to go, not even mid-season, like still early in the year. Kind of crazy. But all their issues are
he let Richie Kotite finish out a 1-15 season.
Exactly. Like they have had terrible coaches run through there. And Saleh's not, he's not Tomlin. He's not a Bill Belichick. Obviously, he's not like a great coach. But he doesn't deserve to be like kicked out 5 games in when your offense is as bad as they are. Like, look at Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson looks lost in this offense, and Garrett Wilson is a talented wide receiver. The biggest problem is Aaron Rodgers feels like he's above it all. He doesn't have to show up in, training camp or OTAs or any of that. He'll show up when he wants to, and the wide receivers need to get on page with him. He doesn't have to do the opposite and get on page with the wide receivers and find out like what they like to run and anything like that. So you're seeing an offense that's completely a mess, and Aaron Rodgers is part of that. Now, Trajan brings a great point. If you're going to make a change for change's sake, how can you justify Saleh getting fired and Hackett staying on? Like if you want change, get rid of both of them and move on to the next. Because I don't understand now why Hackett is still there if they're taking play calling away from Hackett. So what is he?
All right, so
I don't get it.
So Kyle, all good points. And I see Godfrey is like ready to rock and roll, but I'm gonna wait for a second, Godfrey. I want to hold you back, put the collar on, leash on, because I have an Aaron Rodgers fan. He's on the show. And Brett is an Aaron Rodgers fan. So like I want to hear like here's the thing, right? Brett, like I had and Bill diagnosed this disease, and me and Bill both had this disease, and it was CWS. And we had Carson Wentz syndrome. Like we had it. We were patient 0 of Carson Wentz syndrome. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers brought you guys a Super Bowl. I know you're a fan of his. I know he's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game. Seeing the success Matt LaFleur has had without Aaron, seeing Jordan Love flourish in the same offense without Aaron, and then seeing what you're seeing in New York, do you think Robert Saleh needed to be fired? And if so, why?
I don't think Robert Saleh needed to be fired at all. I think that was a knee-jerk reaction because in all reality, the problem was the offensive coordinator. Robert Saleh had that defense playing motivated. They were always at the top of the league despite always having crappy quarterbacks and being on the field. I saw a stat like last 4 years, they had the most amount of snaps on the field, and they're still top of the league in almost every single defensive statistic despite being on the field a ton. The problem is Nathaniel Hackett runs an offense which is called pretty much Aaron Rodgers save me. There's no creativity. He doesn't like to establish the run. He puts the ball in Rodgers' hand and goes, okay, Aaron, save me. And that's all fine and dandy when you have receivers like Devontae Adams where Rodgers had like generational chemistry with. But when your play call with the game on the line is I'm going to run 4 verts with 4 receivers that Rodgers clearly doesn't have chemistry with, that's just not great. Was Robert Saleh a perfect coach? No. But the issue is you're putting way too much on the plate of Aaron Rodgers. I think he still has some left in the tank. He's not washed yet, but he clearly needs help. He needs schematic help to free guys, some more dominance in the run game. Let's establish the ground game. And they just haven't had that. So I think Aaron Rodgers still has some in the tank, but I think firing Saleh wasn't the answer. The answer was getting rid of Nathaniel Hackett. And they kind of half-assed did both, demoting Hackett and getting rid of Saleh. So overall, it's just an absolute mess over there. But I don't think Saleh was the issue.
I've been waiting to address this comment right here. And this is what Godfrey said last night on Wire to Wire. Saleh wasn't the best, but their issues wasn't but their issues weren't on him. Now the undisciplined nature of the team as a whole, Saleh could have some fault. Godfrey, you said a comment last night. And before I go, I want you to elaborate on the comment you said in our chat last night. You said, two things can be true. Saleh shouldn't have got fired, but he still sucks. He's not good. I'd love you to elaborate on that before I reply.
I think a portion of this whole equation that's getting overlooked that probably factored in him to get firing. I can read you something from 2020 that points to it. Nathaniel Hackett might be better friends with Saleh than he is with Rodgers, believe it or not. I could pull an interview from the Jacksonville Times that talks all about their relationship before he was even on the coaching staff. And I think he got fired because he signed off on it just as much as Aaron Rodgers did. And Aaron knew that Saleh would sign off on it because they were tight. They're talking about how they're in fantasy leagues together. Their families have vacation together. I could quote it here. And this is something where I think Joe Douglas had to fire him because it's his ship he has to manage. He is a defensive coach. Yes, he's a good defensive mind. But when you're a defensive coach, you have to manage that ship, like a Mike Tomlin or a John Harbaugh, who's not an offensive coach, was a special teams guy. And you have to say, all right, this guy's got to be in place. That was his choice to be put in place. That's just speaking to Rodgers. Now, this is your last gasp. I think Joe Douglas will probably be going after the season as well. I just think it was partly Aaron, possibly, but I think Saleh is partially responsible because he signed off on it. I believe that he brought him to the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron was involved as well, and that's why he had to go on it. And I don't think he should have been fired. I think it was foolish of the Jets to do it 5 games into the season. I don't think it was right. I don't think it was the right move by an organization that, continually makes bad moves. I think they should have waited and saw how things played out, especially with a quarterback that probably might not be there next year or the year after. So, I knew this was a make it or break it season for the Jets. And when they started off 2-3, I was even saying this last year before Aaron got injured, how is this going to play out in New York? Because Woody Johnson is growing tired of it, and he's had a lot of years. And I just think that he might not be at the point in his career where he's a good head coach because he has to be a better leader of men as far as his staff goes versus how he is with his players.
I don't know if Robert Saleh is a bad coach or a good coach. And I don't know how anybody out there can know whether Robert Saleh is a bad coach or a good coach because there's so many things that are unclear about what happened in New York. And we could all speculate on it, but here's what I do know. Defensive coordinators that become head coaches need to have good offensive coordinators to be successful. It's a very simple concept. We'll look at Sean McDermott. His most successful years were with Brian Dable and now Joe Brady. Look at Dan Quinn down in Atlanta. He was very successful as a head coach with Kyle Shanahan as his offensive coordinator, and he's rekindled that flame with Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels in Washington. You look at the defensive coordinators that don't really work out, and I'll just make this very clear. The end of Bill Belichick was a nightmare because he no longer had Josh McDaniels, and he was just trying to make a makeshift offense look terrible. Defensive coaches need good offensive coordinators. They need that. So when you look at the situation that's happened in New York, he didn't draft Zach Wilson. He was a rookie head coach. You're not going to account on a defensive head coach to be your guy that drafts Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's a bust. The guy stinks. There's nothing he could have did about that. They bring in Aaron Rodgers, and he gets hurt 4 plays into his season, and they had no backup plan. I don't know what I'm looking at. But what I do know is this. Robert Saleh is a defensive guy, has had his defense in the top 5 in the NFL. All 3 years he's been there.
But he's got to be a head coach, not just a defensive coach.
Fair. But did Robert Saleh bring in Aaron Rodgers? Did Robert Saleh bring in Nathaniel Hackett? Did Robert Saleh, or is that Joe Douglas? Is that the organization? No, you could say yes.
No, let me read you a quote. I do know. I'll read you a quote. And I'll give you a quick paragraph here. This is from 2020. When they were on the Jaguar staff together, this is on Jacksonville.com. in 2015 and 16, linebackers coach Robert Saleh and quarterbacks coach Nathaniel Hackett had too much in common not to form a bond. These are direct quotes from these guys afterwards. I want to be clear. We were in a fantasy baseball league together that was free. Saleh said in a phone interview Friday, we just had the same interest. Kind of a homebody with his wife and kids. We had a lot of similarities. Saleh and I were always really close on whether the same team or going against each other, Hackett added. He is the reason I went to Bic Razor to shave my head. We just hit it off, and once we were separated, we kept in touch. This is from 2020. So I don't think a lot of people realize how good of friends they were. This is not just Aaron Rodgers that brought him in. It was Saleh as well. And when you're the head coach,
what I'm saying is you've had 5 games of a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, 5 games in which a guy refused to show up to OTAs and the coach tried holding him accountable, 5 games of a quarterback that's competent, that's also 39 years old, in an offense they didn't show up to learn. That's not, I don't put that on the defensive head coach. Now, if you want to say it's on him because he hired Hackett and the offense is failing because he hired Hackett, fine, I'll listen to that. But what I'm going to say something right now, and they said this last night, that it's not going to happen. If Robert Saleh goes to San Francisco and takes a DC job over there, you might as well pack up the Super Bowl. That shit's over.
Wasn't he on that team when they lost?
Listen, Robert Saleh right now, with Kyle Shanahan right now, with the weapons they have right now, there's no one beating them.
Well, I hope they take a DeLorean back to last year and get the Brock Purdy from last year, because this year he ain't the same guy.
He looked great this year.
No, incorrect. If you look at the stats,
watching the games.
I am watching the games. Look at his stats in the second half versus the first half. The difference there is in the first half they have scripted plays. Once it goes off the GPS,
stats and not watching the game.
He hasn't looked as good. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback.
That wide receiver from Michigan that dropped 3 balls in the second half of that Rams game, all to put the game away, and you're going to talk about his stats. Like, you have to watch the football games. What's the kid's name from Michigan? We brought it up 2 weeks ago. What's the guy's name?
On the Rams?
Yeah, no, he's on the 49ers. He dropped 3 balls in the fourth quarter.
Oh, man, I forget his name.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
Ronnie Bell.
Yeah.
Ronnie Bell. He was terrible that week. Awful. I feel like Brock Purdy's playing some of his best football. And I think one of his most underrated attributes has been his elusiveness in the pocket, being able to scramble and make plays with his feet.
You looked better last year.
Yeah, I mean, anyone's going to look better with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, so he's when I see the game, man, there's that he's got 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His rating's down, everything's down. He's not the same guy. And I don't think
rating being down doesn't always have to do with the players being down.
Right.
If a guy drops a ball that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, it might show up on PFF, but doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Let me see what his PFF grade is for the season. He's number 2 PFF for the year. That's insane. His offensive efficiency, 87.3, number 2 for the year.
Okay. So second half, it drops off. The players have dropped off for him. It's happened game after game. Debo's there.
It's the guys dropping the friggin' football.
Ronnie Bell has not been the reason every game.
No, but there's been different circumstances. Brandon Ayuk had a terrible game, his second game back. No one wants to talk about that. Brandon Ayuk didn't play all preseason and is just coming into form now. Debo Samuel hasn't played a couple games. George Kittle hasn't played a couple games. It's not, I don't put that shit on Brock Purdy. There's no way I do. He's the
I'm not putting it on him. I'm saying he just has
quarterback in the NFL, ahead of Baker Mayfield, ahead of Kyler, ahead of Jaden Daniels, ahead of Lamar, ahead of Joe Burrow, ahead of Mahomes.
Well, you can't use PFF and then not want to use the rating and other stats you see up that are not as good as last year. You can't pick like that.
Don't take into account. The only thing that takes into account a wide receiver dropping a pass is their QBR, their PFF rating. So if a receiver drops a ball, or they fumble the ball, or their defense is getting shelled in the second half, that takes that into account.
Yeah, I think Saleh's not a defensive. He's not an offensive coach, right? We all know that. But
correct.
Kyle, you pointed it out. He let Aaron Rodgers call all the shots last year. Now, Aaron got injured. I said from the door it was going to upset the apple cart. You brought in Alan Lazard. You brought in Randall Cobb. He let Aaron Rodgers act if he was a coach, bringing in his guys into a new system.
Yeah.
And guess what? Garrett Wilson's not happy. His route tree, he says, is very small. Breece Hall is disappearing because they want him to be a running back that he's not. And Aaron Rodgers is very sneaky. He's like, I'm going to get Bo Allen involved. I'm going to audible throw it to that guy. And listen, it's good quarterback, but running back, we know Breece Hall is better. He'll lose 2 yards and then he'll break you off 80. That's what it is with Breece Hall. And I really think that when you look at the chemistry between the receivers that are on the team outside of people that he imported, it's pretty bad. And that's because of Aaron Rodgers and the lack of the offense. But Saleh vouched for this guy. And this was their last stand. After Zach Wilson was a bust, whether it was the player or not, as a coach, the development of the players under you as a head coach is your responsibility at the end of the day. This was their second stand. Joe Douglas is probably going after the season too.
He should be.
And listen, this was their last stand. And I knew if it didn't work out, there were going to be people that were going to get fired. They were on the hot seat. And the reason why it survived is because the guy got injured. Maybe it turns out different last year. I'm not so sure, man. Aaron Rodgers is still trying to come back from that Achilles. You can see the strength is there in his throws. And Nathaniel Hackett, what is he known for before he got there? He's known for not having a really good plan. Some people say he ruined Russell Wilson. Both things could be true. Russ could have been cooked and he ruined him. And guess what? Rodgers had to call for this guy to get hired in places. Like, he was calling for him. It's reported. He was making calls to say he's a good guy before he got into the Jets. He goes to the Jets. This guy gets in. And last year was evident. There is no depth to this man's plan. And now he has been demoted as the offensive coordinator. So if I'm the owner, you're damn right I'm stepping in at this point, because it's 2-3. Fans are probably pissed. They probably had their best ticket sales in years. And
yeah, following up last year, I'm sure last year's ticket sales were high.
Yeah,
just for the heck of it, I looked it up just to see where Ronnie Bell was, and I looked up the top 100 wide receivers in the NFL. And where do you think he ranked?
He's probably might be dead last for all I know.
Well, he wasn't on the top 100, so I had to expand it to 130 wide receivers have touched the field this year. Ronnie Bell is ranked 123.
It's pretty far down.
Yeah, it's terrible. Brock Purdy's ranked second. Hey guys, just for fun, just for the heck of it, because we're here. I want to, and I gave you guys a bunch of names. I want to see how you guys do on this. And I'm going to eliminate Joe Flacco because he's only played one full game. He's ranked number 10. I want to see if you guys can get the top 11 quarterbacks, but top 10 excluding Joe Flacco. Let's see how you guys do. We'll go around the horn. We'll start at Godfrey.
Based off
top 10 PFF grade quarterbacks in the NFL.
Man, I don't know. I don't really look at these PFF grades that often, but hey,
for fun, why not? Let's go. I gave you one. You might as well take the low-hanging fruit. I already gave you one.
So Purdy's 2, right?
Purdy is 2. Kyle, give me one.
Darnold.
I'll say Baker.
Baker Mayfield's 3. Brett, give me one.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold was 22.
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay. Geno Smith.
Geno Smith is number 9. Kyle, give me one.
I'm pretty sure Lamar probably rates pretty well.
Lamar's 7.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, believe it or not, is not in the top 10. He's number 13. After that 9 for 30 performance,
probably knocked him out.
Dropped him down a couple pegs.
I'm pretty sure that's
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff got to be up there, right? Let's see where Jared Goff is. Jared Goff is not. Jared Goff.
Jaden Daniels.
Hold on. Jared Goff. I want to see where Jared Goff is. Jared Goff is number 26.
Guess they don't value 18 for 18 that much, huh?
No. Jared Goff is behind. Oh, my God. You wouldn't believe this.
Is Stafford in the top 10?
Stafford's not in the top 10.
I don't think he should be, but it just doesn't seem to have any symmetry on what you would think off the top of your head as far as.
They take into account everything. They take into account receivers dropping passes, running the wrong routes. If you throw a Hail Mary, they don't like hold it against you because they know it's a forced pass. Like I like that. So we have number
Dak Prescott.
2, 3. Dak Prescott's number 20. We have number 2, 3, 7.
Mahomes is
9.
down there, right?
Mahomes is number 11, which number 10 for our list. So yes.
Okay.
Kyle, give me another one.
I'll go Jaden Daniels.
Number 6. There we go. We're firing them off now. Brett, give me another one.
You know what? I doubt it, but I'll go Jordan Love.
Jordan Love is number 25. 3 picks hurt him.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is number 4.
Now
what I'm talking about, quarterbacks not a win-loss stat anymore, guys. They're 1-4, but Joe Burrow is number 4 because they put up 38 points and their stupid-ass head coach decided he wanted to run the ball 3 times to the 35-yard line and kick a 52-yard field goal to win the game when Joe Burrow had already thrown 5 touchdowns and 400 yards.
True, but he did also throw a horrible pass that did get picked as well, right?
He had 1 pick, yeah.
A crucial pick.
Touchdowns.
A crucial pick, though.
Yeah, you're right. Crucial pick. You're right. They're not in the game if it's not for Joe Burrow.
Still, I mean,
yeah, you got to be perfect. Every quarterback's got to go.
No,
perfect.
You don't got to be perfect, but that is a benchmark for the game. I would kill any quarterback for that, like 5 touchdowns. But if he's throwing a pick, that was an ill-advised pass that he was forcing to Jamar Chase.
He is 35 out of 36 qualified quarterbacks, Jerry.
Will Levis
35 out of it's Will Levis. 35 out of 36.
Where's my boy Jalen at? 13, 14?
Jalen who?
Hurts.
Stop. 29.
Rough.
That's the truth.
It's deserved.
I'll throw a name out there.
Go ahead.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray's number 5.
Okay.
I don't think we've said CJ Stroud yet.
CJ Stroud's number 8. So now, just to be clear, you guys have number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You're only missing number 1.
Number 1.
And you'll never get it. They're 2 and 3. They lost 3 straight games. You have to be in the best offense in football.
Derek Carr?
That is correct. Derek Carr is number 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that.
This makes the list so legitimate.
I mean, they have 286 graded plays, 147 passes, 5 runs. They have him ranked as an A. They broke down every one of his plays, and they have him ranked as an A.
I would have to think golf would, if it wasn't coming off a bye week, would that affect?
It's funny because wide receiver, it's almost spot on. Like you could not find an argument for the top 10 wide receivers. Like 100% the top 10 wide receivers are the top. There's one name on there that doesn't make sense to me. But other than that, I want to read you the top 10 wide receivers. I want you to tell me just their grades, not what they've done offensively. Nico Collins, Chris Olave, Chris Godwin, Rashee Rice, A.J. Brown, Jawan Jennings, Devontae Smith, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors. Now, the one name that's on there that doesn't make any sense to me is Drake London. But that's, I mean, I
We
get
did
it.
have a pretty big game that last week. Maybe where's Darnell Mooney on that list?
Darnell Mooney.
Yeah,
Darnell Mooney. Page 2. 48. Right ahead of Dortch and Tyreek Hill. How the mighty have fallen. But Nico Collins is the number 1 rated wide receiver in PFF. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, not bad.
Lot of good conversation pieces. We'll do running backs real quick just for the heck of it. I'm gonna read them out. Everybody should get number 1. Everyone should get number 1. It's very easy.
Saquon?
Nope. Saquon's number 8.
Oh.
Josh Jacobs is 5. You guys are missing a very obvious one at 1.
Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry's number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker's 2. Aaron Jones is 3. I agree with both those ratings. Kenneth Walker hasn't played a lot, but every game he's played has been great. Aaron Jones has looked great in Minnesota. David Montgomery is 4. Makes a lot of sense. Josh Jacobs 5. Braylon Allen is 6 of the New York Jets. Bijan is 7. Saquon is 8. Kamara is 9. And when I give you number 10, Brett might fall out of his chair. Brett's the only person on this show that knows who number 10 is.
It's gonna be Emmanuel Wilson.
That's correct. I find that interesting. Brees Hall's nowhere near the list. He's not having a good year, Trevor. He said Seattle running back. Let's see where Brees is, just for the heck of it. Brees is not having a good year.
They probably done last, judging by his fantasy points he's given me.
Oh my God, this can't be real. He's not on page. He's not in the top 50.
One game can change that.
54. Holy crap. 54. You know what he ranks? It's funny. You know he ranks number 1 in one category, though?
Where's that?
Insane. Run blocking. Number 1 running back in run blocking. So I'm done. Very interesting list as a whole, but we got a real exciting week ahead of us. But we always do recap. We always do recap what happened the week that was, the stories that were. This past week in the NFL, no different, right? A lot of good football games. Last Thursday night, we had the Falcons versus the Buccaneers. I nailed it. Godfrey nailed it. I nailed it in the sense that the Falcons would win and cover. It'd be a high-scoring game. Godfrey nailed it in the Darnell Mooney. I said it would be a Drake London game. Drake London had a great game. He said Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney had a great game. So great work for us two for that.
You almost ended up the GOAT, though.
Yeah. Well, I will say this.
And I don't mean the GOAT as the greatest of all time. I mean, like, what the GOAT used to mean, like he was, might have lost in the game with that drop.
But it's as quick as I give myself credit, I will take credit away. I have guaranteed a victory last week. And that was a guaranteed L because I guaranteed the Jets over the Vikings. And that did not happen. Aaron Rodgers played terrible. He was 29 of 54, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1 going to the house in a 27-17 loss, including a pick to end the game. Brian Flores did a friggin' head coaching job yet. I'm going to keep bringing that up until he gets a head coaching job.
Maybe he'll be coaching the Jets.
I doubt they hire another defensive-minded coach. That's where I don't think they'll do that again. But game of the week, Texans Bills. CJ Stroud 28 of 38 for 331 and a touchdown. Josh Allen 9 of 30 for 131 and 1 touchdown. But what I find interesting about this game, I read those stats out loud. What would you think the score would have been?
I was just about to say, if you read Josh Allen's 9 for 30, you figure the Bills got blown out by like 40.
They did not. Bills had a very 23-20 game, and Kymie Fairbairn had a 59-yard field goal with no time left to win the game. It was a tie ball game, and Josh Allen was 9 of 30 for 131 yards. How about them apples?
And it took that terrible drive when they were backed up against their own end zone that gave the Texans the time to kick the field goal.
Well, the reason I want to bring that one up, the reason I bring that game up is because I want to bring up the NFL safety protocol. And I watched that game with a friend of mine. And how in the world did Josh Allen get back on that field? And if you don't know what I'm referring to, if you didn't see it, Josh Allen was knocked out cold. He was 100% concussed. They used smelling salts to wake him up. And he passed concussion protocol. And that is embarrassing to say the least. Then you have 1st and 10 from their own 5-yard line. He throws 3 passes. 3 terrible passes.
Mm-hmm.
Incomplete passes that give the Texans the ball back with enough time to kick a 59-yard field goal instead of going into overtime. Could have ran the ball, could have ran the clock out, could have went to overtime. He was concussed and he was not all there. Can we talk about that? How did some teams just get away with skating concussion protocol? Where's the independent neurologist in this situation? There was neurologists all over
Yeah.
the Twitter sphere calling for an investigation. He was knocked out cold on the football field. His helmet hit the ground so hard late in that game. It was so obvious. What would you say the injury was? Did anyone else catch what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those where I kind of think because it's Buffalo, McDermott, who a lot of people have been questioning his job recently. I think Josh Allen's got free say to do and kind of just be whatever he wants. So I think when he was sitting there, because I think the camera was on him too.
Himself, bro.
I feel like the camera was on him, and I think he saw they had the ball back, and it's like that's when he jumped up, grabbed his helmet, and was like, "I'm going on the field."
They gave him smelling salt, Kyle, to wake him up.
But I'm just saying, once that happened, somebody should have taken his helmet and gone to the other side of the sideline. The fact that it was even near him for the opportunity that, oh, we got the ball, let's throw Josh back out there. He should have had the opportunity to put his helmet back on and get out there. McDermott, somebody should have been like, Josh, like, you need to stay here. But it's like everybody turned around and was like, oh, well, if he goes back out there, we'll just say he was good. So I agree with you. I feel like it's a terrible look. I'm sure Josh Allen, I don't know what he said after the game or anything like that, but that was definitely a terrible look because I saw the play as well. I think I was watching like Red Zone or something, and the way his head hit, I mean, everybody who saw it was like, clearly he has a concussion and everything like that. If we're going to go back out the way he did, not just one person, but plenty of people dropped the ball on that.
Neuroscientist wants the NFL to investigate Josh Allen's apparent head injury. Josh Allen's guarded remarks highlight checklist versus healthcare tension. Josh Allen given smelling salts after a huge hit. Like, it's all over. It's so crazy how that was allowed. Brett, did you see the play?
Yeah, no, that was wild. They should have never let him back on that field. Like Kyle said, they should have just taken his helmet and walked off the field, gotten him off the field. There's absolutely no way that Josh Allen should have been able to continue, at least until getting checked out. It's just absurd.
Well, I mean, NFL has protocols in place for this. They just didn't use them. Or I guess in certain other situations where, like, if a player gets injured, they can, from New York, don't they tell them, like, hey, he has to come off the field for a play?
That's independent neurologist is supposed to spot that. There's a spotter for that.
He did come off the field for a play.
He came off the field, and they had the quickest concussion protocol you've ever seen in your entire life.
Guys, the stars in the league go by different rules. You don't know that?
Yeah, okay. Well, do you remember the last time this happened where everyone knew one player had a concussion and he got back out on the field? Do you remember what happened after that?
Oh, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not surprised.
Had a concussion. They put him back on the field. He got hit again. He had a seizure.
Yeah.
That's
also I was bringing up. But that's also I was bringing up, like, a lot of teams, if a guy goes into the blue tent or whatever and they hear it's a concussion or whatever, there's like somebody on the staff who will take the helmet and go away with it. Josh Allen's helmet was still within reach, and that's why he went back on the field. So whoever was in charge of that dropped the ball as well. Because Josh Allen and a lot of these quarterbacks and just players in general, they're not going to think to take themselves out because, somebody says, oh, you might have concussion. In Josh Allen's mind, is like, we have the ball. I can get us a win.
Yep.
Somebody else has to step in and tell him, no, for your own safety, we can't put you back on the field. Nobody did that.
Spot on. You have to protect the players from themselves. Last topic we talk about before we preview tonight's game is there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new quarterback over in New England, and that man is Drake May. Now, I had a conversation with Mo about this, and I heard Brett and Mo talk about this morning. I kind of want to go a little further on it because I got Kyle on the show. And Kyle, I think this is the perfect time. I think it's the perfect time to bring him in. And I'll explain to you why. I want his first start to be at home. That's number one. Number two, I don't want his first start to be against the Jets at home.
Mm-hmm.
The way that defense plays football. I don't want his first start to be on the road. So if you don't start him this week, you don't start him next week at Jacksonville, You don't start in the following week at home versus the Jets. That's a ridiculous way to start a series. I think this is the move to start this week. And especially coming off that lethargic performance, I thought that Gerard Mayo would make a move in the middle of the game with the way Brissett was moving the ball. And, Miami offense was anemic. It just wasn't happening. And, you're down 5 points and you can see it. And they're like in the 2-minute drill running the football because they can't trust Brissett to throw the ball. It was embarrassing. Nothing against Jacoby. He's just not an NFL quarterback anymore. And in order to inspire your home fans and get people to still come to the ball game, you got to make the move. Was this the right time for the move, Kyle? Now, I'm going to get to you right first, but Godfrey, I know you're ready. I know you're ready with your whole rookie quarterback should sit out the first year. So be prepared for your response. Kyle, is this the right time?
Yes. Before the season, I looked at week 7 against Jacksonville only because of the opponent. That game's also in London. I do agree with the way the first set of games have gone. Picking Houston at home makes a lot of sense. A lot of Patriots fans, I know John's one of them, are kind of tired with the same old act with Jacoby Brissett. You're going to run the ball, but a team stopped the run. There's only so much Jacoby can do. And since week 1 against Cincinnati, it's been downhill from there. Seattle the following week, I thought they played pretty well. But then Jets, Niners were disasters. And like you said, the Dolphins, this is a team that has their own issues. Huntley struggled offensively as well. Tyreek Hill can't even get the ball now, apparently. But you're down 15-10. And I understand the whole Jalen Polk thing. If Jalen Polk gets his heel down in the back of the end zone, we're probably talking about a win. And maybe Drake May gets pushed out a couple more weeks. But the way that game unfolded, you only scored 10 points. This was the time to do it. Because like you said, you're not going to wait 2 weeks against the Jets. And Houston has a really good defense as well. But I think because Houston, their rushing defense isn't that good, I feel like the game plan is going to be somewhat similar. You get Stevenson, you get Gibson established, and you let Drake May kind of operate off of that. And we'll see, because I think he'll have a better opportunity to get the ball into Pop Douglas's hands or Jalen Polk or Kendrick Bourne, who just came back. Drake May's better equipped to do that than Jacoby Brissett. And look, I love Jacoby Brissett. He's carved out a career for himself that's probably longer than most people thought. He understood. He signed the 1-year deal. He knew that he was only, keeping the seat warm until Drake May was ready to go. So he's been a perfect veteran and everything like that. He took on basically the Brian Hoyer role.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer was always in New England as, break in case of emergency and to help younger quarterbacks kind of understand. So I'm not going to hate Jacoby Brissett in any way. On the field, he did what he could. He took some hits that a lot of quarterbacks probably would not have gotten up from, but he's always been a tough guy. So this is the perfect time. No rushing in anything. They upped his reps with the number 1 team in practice. I think Drake May will be ready to go. It's just going to be what can he do against a Texans defense that we saw beat up Caleb Williams early in the season. So that's the one thing I hope is that he doesn't take the beating that Caleb Williams took. But I also
100%.
think that Drake May is this is it for him. Like he's ready to go. I'm excited to see it. Hopefully he can make some magic happen in the passing game.
Is Ramondre playing this week?
Yeah, I mean, he was benched for the first drive last week because of the fumbling issues.
Yeah.
And since the minute they put him back in, he looked really good. So I think he's fine. It was just, Gerard Mayo was just trying to get to him, like, with our offense, we can't have you fumbling week in and week out.
I think Godfrey's referring to him being sidelined with the foot injury. He hasn't practiced this week.
I feel like he'll play.
I do too.
I mean, I haven't seen the reports whether he's out or something. I think he's questionable. I think he's listed as. I think.
Yeah.
Something tells me Drake May might give him a reason to go out there.
I completely agree with you. Godfrey, your thoughts? Is it the right move? Is it the right time?
Yeah, I think if you have a good base, going with, I think their offensive line is better than the Bears. I don't know what the spread is between the two, but I think they got the run. The reason why I asked about Rondre Stevenson is they have an established ground game they're going to have to be able to put behind them, which will help them. You can also stretch the field more with Polk because Brissett can't take advantage of Jalen Polk's ability. So you could do that as well. Drake May likes to throw some bombs, so that will add an element to the offense. You have Demario Douglas underneath that's showing out and doing well. So he'll have some weapons. He'll have Hunter Henry. So it's not completely bankrupt. So I'm okay with it. Long as they, my thing is just think about if they sat Caleb Williams for the first 3 or 4 games and not had him take all those hits, 4 or 5 games, right? At least let the team get established because you're in rebuild mode anyway. And I think it's okay to put him in there right now. I think you're not going to, at a certain point, if your quarterback is part of your development plan, then you have to put him in there because you have to see what other pieces are going to be able to develop along with him.
Guardy 3, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, at first I was kind of unsure of it just because I watched Caleb Williams just get the crap kicked out of him when they matched up. So they kind of beat up on the other rookie quarterback that they played, but overall I'm totally fine with it. Like, at the end of the day, Jacoby Brissett wasn't getting the job done. He just doesn't have the arm anymore to really do anything in the passing game. And I think if they establish Gibson, Stevenson, and just in general, like a quick passing attack and some screens, a lot of runs, you can open up for him to take the deep shot and hopefully limit the amount of hits he takes. So overall, it's the right move. It's time. Like Jacoby, but he's done.
I'm with you, brother. I think it's the right time. I said that earlier. We do have a game to preview tonight. The Seattle Seahawks are hosting the San Francisco 49ers tonight. The point spread, we always go over that, is 4 now. It opened up at 3.5. It's at 4 now for the 49ers. Games in Seattle, division rivalry game. The San Francisco 49ers are 2-3. The Seattle Seahawks are 3-2. 49ers will be missing a couple players tonight. Tarvarius Ward will not play. Jake Moody, he's obviously inactive after his injury this past week. I think that the 49ers are missing a lot more than Seattle is. Seattle is missing all-world cornerback Tariq Woolen, just to be clear. So he'll be inactive for the game. How do you guys see this game going? I think that, the fact that Tarvarius Ward, you still don't have Greenlaw, you don't have Ufanga. They're missing, one of their linebackers. They're starting defensive tackle and Jordan Elliott. The Niners are missing a lot more than people will let out. However, they're the better football team. So I'll start with Godfrey. How do you see the game going tonight? Where's your money at? How are you looking at this Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers game?
You know what? It's a tough game because both of these teams are coming off losses that they probably shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, definitely.
So
especially Seattle.
Yeah.
You lose at home to the Giants, dude. You got Daniel Jones.
You can run on the Seahawks, right? I mean, you can pass on them. But Geno Smith and that wide receiver core, I think, has been looking overall better than they have in the past, right? I don't know, man. I keep looking at the Niners and you expect them to come out like gangbusters, and they just seem to be stalling out right now. I'm gonna have to go with the home team on this one. It's a division rival. Seahawks Niners is a underrated rivalry, and I don't know if they win by 4 points, but yeah, DK likes to fumble. I don't know if he fumbles a lot, but he definitely. I would take everything DK brings and live with those fumbles. That's all I gotta say. But Ken Walker is amazing. I think he's going to be able to run on the Niners. And I think Jordan Mason's going to be able to run on the Seahawks. I'm going to flip it to the home team. I just feel like, Geno's playing a lot better than he has. I really like the new offensive coordinator out there. He's taking advantage of the talent that was there. And I think the Niners are going to contend, but they are missing some key pieces. Ward and the safety that they're missing. He hasn't been there a lot, but I'm going to say his name wrong, but you guys, Tafanga is. That's tough. And listen, Jordan Mason's great, but one thing if you notice about him is, and you've noticed about the Niners in general, he's not catching a lot of balls out of the backfield, and that's definitely part of that plan. He's no C-Mac. He's doing a great job, and I don't see Goriendo doing a whole lot as far as catching balls, and I don't see where they've dispersed that part of their offense really. They haven't really replaced that, and I think that's hurting them. Running backs before Christian McCaffrey that's been in that system have caught the ball, and Mason doesn't seem to be doing well in that category.
I always find it interesting when you look at a game in which 82% of the money and 77% of the bets are on one side, but the spread moves the other way. This is a 49ers -5 spread. Dropped down to -3.5 when Ward was out. And now it's up to 4 with 80% of the money being on San Francisco. My eyes tell me Frisco should win this football game. My gut and the fact that, I watch a lot of football tells me the 49ers should win this football game. But Vegas is telling me Seattle wins the game. I'm going to lay off this game. This will not be a game that I'm putting any money on. But I think the 49ers are a better football team. And I think they find a way to win the football game, regardless of whether they cover or not. I think their defense, Nick Sorensen has really struggled with that defensive unit. We put all the scapegoat blame on the defensive coordinator last year. They replaced it with Nick Sorensen. Nick Sorensen's not made that defense look better. Hasn't.
Yeah. No.
And then in Seattle, you look at that situation, new coach, they look reinvigorated, and then they go and lose to the Giants at home.
Without Neighbors and Singletary.
Correct. I don't know where to go in this game. It'll be entertaining to say the least. Kyle, where's your money at tonight?
I mean, look, this is definitely a very interesting game. I think it's gonna be a good one for Thursday night. They kind of had a couple of these in a row, which shout out to the league with that one. I kind of agree that this feels like a field goal game either way. I think if you look inside the numbers and everything, last week, not only did Seattle, lose to the Giants, but they gave up like 175 on the ground. And I feel like most people who were in here probably wouldn't even know who the leading rusher was for the Giants. I think it was like, I can't remember his first name. It was like Terry or something was the leading rusher.
Tyrone Tracy?
Tracy, there you go.
Tracy he's talking about, yep.
Ran for like 150 on them. Not exactly what you want to see, where now you're going to go face Jordan Mason, who's held his own as the C-Mac replacement. But I have a weird feeling with it being in Seattle. And Seattle has Metcalf, you got Lockett, you got Smith and Jigba. I feel like if they get the passing game going, they could put some pressure on the Niners in with the 12th man and all that stuff. Part of me thinks I think the Seahawks might actually pull this one out. I could see maybe like a 26-23 kind of game. I think either way, the Seahawks cover. Whether they lose by a field goal or they win by a field goal, that's just the way I have a feeling it's going to happen, even though, like you said, Gene, if you look at everything, the Niners kind of beat them in almost every category. But this is weird feeling that I have, kind of like you said. I think Seattle finds a way to stay in this game and get it done late.
Brett, Mr. Gardy 3, how does this game go? Kyle's got Seattle winning the football game. Godfrey's got Seattle covering the spread or winning the football game.
I'm gonna go on a limb here. They're underdogs by 4.
Yep.
They're gonna cover the spread. I can see them doing it.
And
I agree with that. I think they cover as well.
I have the 49ers winning the game. That's all I'll give you. Gardy 3, tell us this is going to be a blowout.
I think the 49ers win this one.
Handily?
Huh?
Handily? Easily?
No, I think the Seahawks keep it close. I think it's probably like a 28-20 game.
Okay.
I think what'll happen is the 49ers, they'll be able to run the ball, and that's going to be key for them this year. I think their biggest issue every year with the Kyle Shanahan offense, they're top of the league in yards after catch. This year, they're fourth to last. They've been terrible. Purdy's been getting the ball to the playmakers. They're not making plays. But this Seahawks defense, luckily for them, you can run on them. And I think what will happen is the 49ers, they'll be able to run. They'll control the clock. They'll jump out to a big lead. Seahawks make adjustments, and they try to make a late, furious comeback that falls just short.
It'll be interesting to say the least. I'll be tuned in tonight to see how that game breaks down. I do want to ask you guys before we wrap up. We have 3 minutes left in the show. I do want to ask you guys if you have a prediction this week, something you think that will go through, something. Give me something this week. Bold prediction, something to happen Sunday. Kyle, I'll start with you.
Bold prediction.
Bold prediction this Sunday. Give me an NFL game, something that happens that you just wouldn't expect.
Okay. Okay. So they're touting the whole Ravens Commanders game. I saw an ad for it as budding of a new rivalry. Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson. I feel like we should slow down with that. I don't even know if this is as bold a prediction necessarily, but I think Jaden Daniels outperforms Lamar Jackson and the Commanders win.
All righty. Brett, give me a bold prediction for this weekend.
Oh, I got you for this one. Prime time. You're going to see it. Bengals drop to 1-5. Giants and Daniel Jones hand them another loss in prime time.
Oh, my Lord. I'll give you one. I think the Carolina Panthers beat the Atlanta Falcons outright Sunday in Carolina. Atlanta coming off of 2 huge emotional division games at home, goes on the road, play at Carolina in a game that is just literally the definition of a letdown.
That would be a Falcons thing to do.
It would be.
Yeah.
Godfrey?
Kyle kind of stole mine. Thanks, bro. It wasn't the same though, but it was kind of along that vein. I have a different one, but I think the Ravens are going to bring Jaden Daniels down the earth a little bit, but I think that that Russell Wilson will end up starting for the Steelers, or if not being inserted in the game, he will cook for them. And everybody knows I'm a Justin Fields fan, but you have to see how Mike Tomlin is playing this, and he's playing it perfectly. Where there's no blame on him, and he's like, listen, okay, he's ready now. He's healthy. He's a full participant at practice now. Right after that game where it was kind of inefficient, kind of mysterious, and I think he's going to cook against the Raiders, and might see Russell Wilson rally behind that offense. I mean that defense. Just think you need slightly above average quarterback play for those Steelers, and they could do some stuff.
Final question. What if you guys, everybody gets one shot at this? Who is the highest lowest ticket in the house? We talked about this before. The lowest price ticket to get in the house is what game?
It's got to be the Panthers.
Yeah.
No, so say it the opposite way, right? The highest lowest ticket.
As far as the game?
Correct. The highest priced tickets as low as, what is the most expensive game to go to this weekend?
I feel like it has to be the Ravens Commanders.
It's second. It's the reason I brought this up.
Bills Jets.
Yeah, Bill. I was about to say Bills Jets.
The Bills Jets, it's $71 to go to the game. That's not correct.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Well, it's $71.
Steelers
Not
Raiders.
London. Not Thursday night. Steelers Raiders is correct. $244 to get in the house in Las Vegas. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we close out?
God. I'll just say, if Anthony, what he put in the chat about Drake May gets one passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown, if that happens, I would be happy.
All right, Anthony, I see you.
Joe Burrow is going to cook the Giants. on Monday Night Football.
See, the last time you two were against each other on one of these, you didn't look very good the next day. Brett actually clipped it and showed you saying that the same thing. Let's see who looks better next week.
Gonna cook him.
I hope you clip it if it happens again.
I definitely will. Godfrey, you're more than welcome to. Go, Pat, go.
Any final thoughts, Brett?
No, I'm just hoping for another Packers win. Be a tough matchup against the Cardinals, but I think we got this.
All right, well, I'm Wire to Wire Gene. That's the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. Mr. Garden the 2. He's not guarding the 2. He's guarding the 3, Guardy 3, and then taking it deep with D. Godfrey. This is Sideline to Sideline, and we are signing.